Hey guys, it's FitandFlo. Thank you for tuning in to today's video. Now, in today's video, we are talking about ClickUp. ClickUp is a project management tool that I love. I absolutely love ClickUp. I don't even know how I used to function without ClickUp. Now, ClickUp is a project management tool, just like Asana and Monday.com, but ClickUp is just on another level. Essentially, their motto is apparently it's a tool or a software that replaced them all. And to be honest, I have eliminated so many softwares since I started using ClickUp. What can you use ClickUp for? You can use ClickUp essentially for anything. It could be your personal life, it could be your business life, it could be anything. So you've heard about all these amazing things about ClickUp and you finally want to start using it, but you just don't know where to start. Like, how do I even begin? I know. I have been there. And it can be very overwhelming because there's just so much in there, and you're tempted to use other people's templates. You're tempted to also create your own. However, you just don't know what is the best way to go about ClickUp. Now, I'm going to say this. This is obviously what has worked for me. What I would say is that when you first start with ClickUp, I recommend just taking time off. I'll probably say about 2 weeks just to learn about ClickUp. And when I say learn about ClickUp, you're just going to be watching what other people are doing or how other people are using it. That way you can just see its functionality, as in how it works, without necessarily applying it to your own, personal life. Yes, obviously, when you're watching those videos, you can kind of think, okay, I could see how I could use it for that and this and that. But try not to already start building your own thing while you're learning. Another thing that I'll probably recommend is that when you're starting to use ClickUp, I wouldn't necessarily, even though I did it, obviously, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend going to YouTube and watching random ClickUp videos, including this one as well, by the way. The reason why I'm saying this is because when you start watching a lot of different YouTube videos, you get very overwhelmed and it's not very structured. So what I would suggest, alongside if you must watch those YouTube videos, I would actually recommend going to ClickUp University and then start learning their structured, lessons in there. You can start from the beginning and then you'd watch that video. If there's anything that you don't understand, then I would recommend then going to YouTube to then sort of, clarify and better understand what ClickUp was trying to teach you. And then you go to the next topic until you end up using things like dependencies and relationships and things like that. By the time you get to that stage, I feel like you would have had a solid understanding of how ClickUp works and how you can actually use it in your own business and personal life. So that's just something that I wanted to clear off before I get started with ClickUp. So in today's video, we're just going to go through how to sign up for ClickUp, as well as just understanding the ClickUp interface. That way, when you start learning about how to actually use ClickUp, you won't get confused when we start talking about, spaces, folders, and things like that. You actually understand what we mean and where to look and things like that. That way it's quite easy for you to follow along. So without wasting so much time, let's get clicking. So this is what the ClickUp interface look like when you first get onto the website. Now, if you haven't signed up to ClickUp, I'll be leaving a link down in the description below. So let us check the pricing. As you can see, ClickUp is free forever, and the free version, to be honest, has a lot of features. Essentially, you don't really need to upgrade unless if you really have to. I was actually using the free version for a long time before I even thought about upgrading to the paid version. Now, the paid versions as well, very generous amount, to be honest. I feel like this is ridiculously low compared to other software that I had to pay for that didn't do nearly as much as what ClickUp does. So essentially, to sign up, you just have to sign up here, and then you would have to obviously put your email or your sign-in details. I'm just going to sign in with my Google account. So essentially, when you get here, you can choose whether you would be using ClickUp for. This here, I'm just going to say personal. It doesn't really matter because you can always personalize it to your own way of working. So I usually just put personal, and then I'll just say that I'm going to use it as for personal use. And then you can invite people, but for now I'm just going to click I'm done. You can also choose other software that you've used, things like Asana or Monday.com. I'll just do Zoom and Excel, and then I'll just go next. So we're here now. It's asking which features are you interested in. Now, if you don't know what you're interested in, just go next, to be honest. But I'm just going to choose automations because that's what I'm most interested in. The CRM, I like that. Scheduling as well. I like the dashboard, the forms, as well as, task and projects, the whiteboard, everything, to be honest, and the calendar. But I do like the goals as well and time tracking. But you don't have to select anything really. I guess this is probably just for information's sake. Now, your workspace. So it's asking us here, what would you like to name your workspace? So your workspace is pretty much perhaps the project that you're working on. Or if you are a small business owner, then it'll probably be like your business. If it's just your personal life, you can just put your name on there. For example, if this is FitandFlo business, then I'll put FitandFlo business. And if this is FitandFlo as in just my personal life, then I'll put it on as FitandFlo as well. Alrighty, so you obviously get the welcome video. You can definitely play it if you want to play it, but I'll just cancel that out there. So the first thing you would see here is your homepage. So your homepage is where you get all your tasks and things that you really want to see. So these are your things like your personal list. So you essentially can personalize the list just for yourself. You can also put together things that you're actually working on, things that you've been assigned to by other people, your agenda, which you could actually connect to your Google Calendar if you want, as well as just your recent task. Now, these cards can actually be moved around, and you can also manage them here. So you can either remove or add things here, but we'll look at this a little bit more in future videos. And then the next thing here that you can see is your inbox. Now, your inbox is pretty much a place where you get all your notifications for things that you have been mentioned in. Your docs is essentially almost like Google Docs. Normally in ClickUp, some people use them to create things like wikis, company policies and procedures. So this is just an example of a document that you might have in ClickUp. You also have timesheet. If you do have timesheet activated, then people can actually start and stop time when they start working on a task. That way, in case you want to pay them or you just want to see how long it took them to complete a certain task, then you can definitely have that there to calculate. Whiteboard is essentially, as the name says, a whiteboard. You can draw on it, you can, do mind maps and all that kind of stuff. You do have clips where you can record your screen in ClickUp, and there's also goals and again, timesheet. You can always unpin that there. Now, moving on to what actually makes up ClickUp is your spaces. So your spaces is something that you can actually customize in ClickUp to suit how you want to work. As you can see, there's already one called Team Space, but we can just delete that and just not use that. I'm just gonna copy. You have to type it again to delete the space. This is just so you can make sure that you're actually deleting something that you actually don't want. So we've deleted that space. So a space is essentially like a folder or a group of things that you're working on. So in a company, for example, you might have a marketing space, a sales space, a recruitment space, and you might also have your own personal space. So spaces are almost like departments, or I guess parts of the project that you're working on. So in here, for example, for FitandFlo, I might have a space for marketing because I want to market my business, for instance. So this is essentially about what you want the space to include when you create this space for the first time. I always recommend the starter because it has the least amount of things, and then you can always add things later. So for example, you can see on the starter, if you have a task, it will be in the to-do list or to-do status, and then once you're doing it, it's in progress, and then when you've done doing the task, then it's complete. However, if you click project management, you can see there's just a long list of things you need to do. For example, you need to do the task, and then now you're planning the task. Now the task is in progress, and then now it's at risk, and then maybe it's unresolved, and then finally it gets completed. So I feel like this is such a long status because we currently do not know how we want to work and whether we actually need all this. It's better to just go with the basic, and then you can always add up more, I guess, statuses as you need, as well as, views and things like that. So that's your marketing space right now. So yeah, the next space that I'm going to create is a personal space, just for me to do random personal things. So I'm just going to call it personal for Flo. I'm going to create a sales space just to make it a little bit more intuitive for others. Okay, so we're just going to close that there. You can see we've got a marketing space, personal space, and a sales space. I like to put the personal space at the top, and then I'll have my marketing space as well as my sales space. Now, what I also like to do normally when I create these spaces is to put labels on them. Okay, I'm just going to put a little human there just to show that it's a personal space. And then for my marketing space, I'm going to put perhaps green because it's growth. And then I'm going to use this here just to indicate that we're marketing, we're shouting out to the public to see us, right? And then now for the sales, I like gold or yellow because we are growing, and I usually use a graph just to show that it's a marketing space. So you can now see that if somebody comes to our workspace, they can now see the spaces that we have here, or the departments that we have. Now, in the spaces here, you can actually have folders, or you can choose to have just a list of things that you need to do. What I can say is that a list is almost like a subgroup of that space. So in marketing, for example, we might have content creation, right? So you might create a folder for content creation, all right? And then you might create another folder with your marketing campaigns, but yeah, campaigns, right? So that's another folder of things that you need to do, right? So now in your content creation, you do have different types of content that you'll be creating. So you might have a list for those type of content. For example, when you're creating a YouTube video, the steps that you take to create a YouTube video is completely different to the step that you would take to create an Instagram post or a Facebook post. So you're going to have a list for this channel called YouTube, for example. And then you would also have another list of content creation for Instagram, right? And then let's just create one for TikTok, because TikTok, again, is a different thing. It's got its own steps to creating these types of content. So looking here now, you can see we've got our workspace, which is FitandFlo. And then we've got our marketing space where we're going to just be focusing on marketing things. And within that marketing space, we've got a folder or a group, sorry, I'll call it a group, where we just essentially just work on content creation. Now, we've got a lot of channels where we want to publish our content. We've got the YouTube content, the Instagram content, and the TikTok content. So we are separating this into their own list. Why? Because the way we make these content is quite different and unique for each of those platforms. So for our YouTube, for example, you might have a YouTube channel on how to use ClickUp. You might have another one that says how to use Gmail and whatnot, right? So these are some of the tasks you need to do for the YouTube channel. And then for the Instagram, you might have a caption on your photo. I don't know, like this is a task that you need to do and you need to post it, right? And then you might have another task to do a story or something, So within the list, the YouTube list, you will have a few tasks or a few YouTube videos that you need to create. Now, within that YouTube video, for example, this one here on how to use ClickUp, you would actually have instructions on how to, whatever you need to do in order to make this ClickUp video. You might also choose to have subtasks where you essentially just write about the steps that you need to take in order to make this YouTube video. For example, you need to maybe perhaps do your research, right? And then you need to plan, and then you need to then, I guess, create the content, so production, and then maybe you need to then edit, and then you need to post and whatnot. Now, this is just the basic way to understand your spaces, your folders, your list, and your tasks. So just knowing and understanding that your task actually lives on a list is important, and then that your list can either be by itself as a list of things, or you can actually group it together and create a group of lists. So for example, now we've created a group of lists, which are our channels, in a folder called content creation, and that folder is under our marketing space. So that's it for me today. I'm going to leave it at that. I want to keep it as simple and as basic as possible, especially during the first time trying to use ClickUp. Obviously, in my next video, I will be going a little bit more into the task itself, just really understanding how can you use this task, what's going on, what are all these, writing here, why is it so confusing? Because I literally had the same questions when I first started learning how to use ClickUp. I was so frustrated looking at all these things, thinking, why is this in my way? However, once you actually really understand ClickUp, you realize that these things are actually quite important and you need them in your ClickUp. So that's it from me today. Again, if you enjoyed my video, please like, share, and comment, because your engagement will definitely help. So without wasting so much time, I will see you in the next video.